All right, let's get started. So thanks for joining, everybody. If you have any questions or comments in the chat, we have a live feed in person that's going to be answering questions. So if you have anything, if you want to participate, maybe you have responses also to people that ask questions in the chat, please feel free to do that throughout the meeting. I'm going to be focusing on this webinar, and I'll just be going through. So you will be responded to. I'm just not going to be the one doing it. So just to introduce you to myself, my name's Doug. I have been here at SalesRabbit for almost 3 years now. I head our sales development team, and I'm also the program manager for Amplify. So what I'm about to show you, I've actually used personally on my own team. And I'm going to get into that when I go over gamification, the need. A lot of you probably joined this call because either you've heard of gamification, it's a big buzzword these days, and a lot of people are trying to, do the new hot cool thing. But the interesting thing is gamification itself has been around for a really long time. If you're familiar with Snapchat, streaks, making sure that you don't break your streak, that's a form of gamification. You saw it a lot when social media became a big thing. So with Facebook, when I remember when Facebook first introduced the like. So liking someone's comment and keeping track of how many likes you have on something, that is a form of gamification. And a lot of apps today are using gamification, whether you know it or not. Everything from Weight Watchers to Duolingo to Audible, they all use gamification, whether it's badges, stats, days logged in, hours logged in, time played in certain games. That is all gamification. So I'm going to go over the importance of why people are gamifying things so much, and some of the problems that fixes that are inherent to business and sales in general. So let me share my screen with you, and we'll get going. All right, you can see my screen? All right, perfect. So Amplify is SalesRabbit's gamification platform. And like I said, we on my team have been using this exact same technology I'm about to show you for over a year and a half now. And it's done really, really good things for my team. But I want to go into why gamification works, why it's important first. So a lot of managers have already found that gamification fixes a big problem that's going on really not only in sales, but everywhere. And that is disengagement. After COVID, you saw a lot of people getting hired, but you also saw a lot of people that weren't as engaged, and you started hearing about quiet quitting and things like that. So overall, there's an engagement epidemic that has been going on. It's always been around, but it seems to have gotten a lot worse over the last few years. So I don't know if it's just with Gen Z being used to like gamified environments. So they're just used to not having to wait around for things. But for one reason or another, we are seeing an engagement issue. So 29% of the workforce is engaged. That's not a lot. That's not a big number. So less than a third are engaged. They're doing what they should be doing. They're in it. They're in the moment. They're working hard. 45% are not engaged. So that number is a lot bigger. And then 26% are actively disengaged. And that's where you start getting the quiet quitters, people that are intentionally doing the bare minimum because they don't want to be engaged. They don't care to be engaged. This is a huge problem. Now, the reason that that's important is because engagement or disengagement has a huge impact. So you see that highly engaged teams show 21% greater profitability. Engaged employees are 17% more productive than disengaged ones. You get highly engaged workplaces, see 41% lower absenteeism. And then you have disengaged employees can cost companies up to $550 billion a year. And companies with engaged employees produce 26% higher revenue. Engaged employees increase customer ratings by 10%. This is just a small list of the many. You can actually go on and Google. You can Google engagement or disengagement stats, and you'll see many, many more. So this is where gamification comes in. It's interesting that we've actually found that gamification, with almost the flip of a switch, fixes the problems that disengagement causes. So You start seeing an increase in productivity. You start seeing a huge increase in people staying with companies longer. You see less absenteeism. You see people working harder. You see people happier when they're using gamified environments. These all fix that huge engagement issue. Okay, now let's go over just what I'm going to try to not reference a lot of these things just because I understand a lot of people aren't familiar with this, but we have dived pretty deep into gamer theory. And what that is Professor Richard Bartle, he wrote a book and he is really the expert, the leading expert on gamification. And it's been found that people in video games these days, you'll actually interact with the game differently based on what type of player you are. So you have your killers, socialites, achievers, explorers. All that really means is you'll interact with the game differently based on what kind of personality you have. And it's been found that in a gamified environment, workers and employees will interact with that gamified environment differently. Now, what this means is you have to really cater to your audience, and one person might react differently to one part of a gamified system than another person. Even though it's the exact same thing they're using, one thing might be more important to them, and one thing might be less important to them, where another person is the exact opposite. Now, the important thing is just to know that there are different player types, and it's not about changing your player types. That naturally happens over time. You might have somebody that starts out as an explorer or a socializer, but as they get really good at sales and they start selling, they start caring more about the things that killers care about. They like being on the top of leaderboards. They like winning things. They like winning battles and competitions, things like that. You don't control that. But what we can do is we can facilitate an environment where while they're moving in and out of different personality and gamer types, that you are supporting them and you allow them to choose what they want to be motivated by. So what this means is in gamified environments, this is actually a study. I believe it's conducted with over about 10,000 people, but in top performers, it was seen that there was a 17% increase in production. For middle performers, which is your middle 60, they saw a 61% increase and then 107% increase with your low performers, which is your bottom 30%. Now, this is crazy. And the coolest thing is usually a lot of people think of in terms of competitions, it's really only helping the top guys. The same few are always the ones that are winning it. Well, what do you do about, the bottom 80%? Well, the cool thing here is you can see that if done correctly, you can actually see the biggest lift from your low performers, which is awesome. Okay, now I'm going to end with this one, but this is just our personal case study at SalesRabbit. I mentioned that I lead a team of SDRs, and since the beginning of last year, we saw a huge increase in productivity. So within our first year, we saw a huge increase in dials, really everything. Dials, convo sets, ops, and deals closed. That's our entire pipeline. Those are key metrics that we really look at. But even our efficiency increased. We had less incorrect assignments, and not just by a little, by a lot. Same with average days from lead to opportunity, or in other words, an appointment that was conducted, so a completed appointment. Average days from appointments held, and then to closed won deals, our demo show rate, cancel rates, all of those moved in the right direction. Same with completed rate. I'm not going to burn you with the numbers, but just know you can see the data speaks for itself. These numbers aren't moving just a little, they're moving a ton. So I would say if you do this and you do it correctly, you can see these same kinds of results, which is awesome. So without further ado, I'm going to go through Amplify, which again is SalesRabbit's gamification and analytics tool. And this actually solves a few major pain points for managers, but also we can show you the why behind it, why it works, what it does. And I'm going to be going through the modules one by one. And so if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. So please ask questions. And then if you have any answers, things that you found are helpful, please don't hesitate to also answer those yourself and help other people in the chat as well. All right, so let's jump into it. So let's start. Here's our home module for gamification. All it is a hub for all the modules below it. So I'm not going to spend too long on this. Just know that there is a way to see all of your things that pertain specifically to you in one spot. Now, because I'm using the admin account, it's going to look a lot different for mine than other people, where you'll actually see people are really using the gamified environment as opposed to just monitoring it. So this is my personal badges, things like that. So it's going to look a lot different. But I don't want to spend too much time on this, so let's just go through and start with the feed. So going down the list, the feed is important because it's been shown, and 61% of sales reps actually agree that they feel like they do better when their activity is monitored in real time. So if you have people knocking on the doors and you're able to in real time show them the stats of the day, show who your leaders are, show them what's happening, so and so just closed a deal, so and so just got an appointment set, then they are incentivized and energized to work harder and to work better throughout the day. So that's where we come in. We can do things like screen announcements, and whether you are a small team, we can have this all on your iPad or your phone. But also, if you are a big team with an office and you have TVs in your office, we can also have a lot of this that is just on the TV that's showing. We have a specific feature for that as well. But as far as the feed goes, you can chat with each other. You can post things. I can create a screen announcement as the manager. I can see what my team is doing. I can see when they're leveling up and going through their own rankings. I'll get more into that a little bit later. People can post GIFs or GIFs, however you want to say that word. Some people feel really strongly about that. So let's say either one works for us. You can you can comment. You can post your own pictures. So if you're out in the field and you want to take a picture of something, you can do that as well. You can also do things like celebrate birthdays. Here, let me just go into this. And really, you can choose whatever you want to see on this. So if I click into like my team feed, for example, I can choose which teams are a part of this. I can have a feed for every team, every department, every company, or just one feed. I can have multiple feeds running at the same time. And I can include really any part of this gamification platform in here that I want. But this is something that's just going off constantly. So as you're working throughout the day, you will see notifications if you want them to be pushed to you or not, or you can just go to the feed when you want to see what's going on, either way. But you can customize it to your liking. So each person can see the things that they want to see on their feed. You can see things like work anniversaries, birthdays, fun things, the type of activity that is being logged, or things like achievements and things like that are part of the gamified environment. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. We're used to feeds. We use Facebook. We use, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. Feeds, we're pretty used to feeds and what that looks like. It's pretty much the same thing. All right, let's go over dashboards. Now, dashboards, this is a huge part of what managers are looking for. Now, I'd say that this off the bat might be the most impactful thing that your team sees, just because you're getting real live insight for your team. So this is the one that is almost identical to the one that my team uses. There are some minor differences. Of course, mine would say Knox dials instead of Knox, because we're SalesRabbit, so we do inside sales. But apart from that, everything is generally the same. So here you can see things like Knox to convos, to appointment set, appointments held, closed deals. And not only that, but it shows you how many are getting carried over from each category. So I can see things like how efficient I'm being. And here it shows me that 5.87% of my knocks are turning into conversations. And then 62.38% of my convos are turning into my appointment set. All the way through, you get your close rate right here. So I can see that, but also I can see something else that's really cool. I can see on this level for my team, and by the way, you can see a lot of this by team or individual. We can even help you filter out, and you can view as a certain person, or you can filter and only look at certain people or certain things. But I can also see how I'm pacing compared to last month, let's say. So I can see, man, this time last month, we were actually ahead. Right now, we're behind by 31% on our total knocks. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be a holiday, an extended weekend, maybe one of your guys was sick, whatever it might be. But you can see how you're pacing in every category. And right here, if I were the manager, I would look at this and go, okay, what's going on? Why are we trending behind where we used to? Now, I can easily go to different time periods. So I can go to last month. I can go to right here. See, I was ahead this month compared to the previous month. This month, it looks like I was pacing really well ahead of everybody. So there you go. It's very easy, very customizable, very easy to look at. Now, I mean, we can go back to real time or just stay in this view as well. But also, I can see leaderboards. So I can see exactly where everyone's landing, and I can have a different leaderboard for knocks, appointments set, appointments held, and deals closed. And we can do just a regular closer model or a setter model. Like I said, very customizable and up to you. I can also see how efficient I'm being. So I can see things like conversation rates, and you can do leaderboards on that, set rates, hold rates, close rates. I can see my deals closed, and I can see who is uh, who is pacing well. And we can see leaderboards if you have targets you want to set. I can see how each person is pacing towards their target. So uh, maybe I can find a good example. Again, this is our dummy demo account, so maybe it'll kind of show it, maybe it won't. But either way, you get the idea. There we go. Okay, just for the sake of an example, you can kind of see what the numbers might look like. So obviously, as the admin, I'm not going to be, doing anything. But here we can see Lisan Al Gaib is the top of the leaderboard here, 78%. You can see other people. I can also see how my teams are pacing towards their goals. And I can see how that rolls up into the overall company goal. I can see how these targets are being met. And then I can see other things like XP rankings. I'll get into that a little bit later, but we allow you to self-promote yourself through your activity, which is pretty fun. And then you can keep track of rankings. And we can also keep track of trend lines. Let me show you just a few other examples of things that we can do. Very customizable. So just know you can build your own. You can use some of our out-of-the-box templates that we have. Super easy. But here you can see trend lines that we can do. And you can have different teams and things like that. We can also show you different types of formats. Again, just to give you a feel for the different types of things that we can do. You can just choose whatever works best for you. If there are any questions about dashboards in general, be sure to ask in the chat, or maybe if there's things that you've helped that have been really helping your team, please throw that in the chat as well. I'm sure that everyone wants to learn what other people are doing that's working well for you. Cool. Let's go into competition. So competitions is huge. So when I first started gamifying, competitions is actually the thing I was looking for. So every sales team knows competitions are important, and we'll show you how we help you make the most out of it. So first of all, we can create a new competition probably within 90 seconds because of our different templates in our library. We can make this a really fast and pain-free process for you guys. So first of all, we have different categories, and we allow you to choose the type of competition based on what you're trying to accomplish. So maybe the data tells you that your bottom performers are not doing so hot. So maybe I want to click the one that says, level the playing field. So don't choose a competition that's going to demotivate the guys that are always feeling like they're on the bottom. Maybe we want to do one that's a little bit more luck-based. So maybe I'll choose, a level the playing field, great for teams just for fun. I can do brackets. Kind of like a March Madness bracket. I can do like team averages. There are different types, like you can build a cabin, as you can have different racing types, first person to pull their fishing line up, launch rockets, things like that. I can do averages per user. I can do scorecards. I can do multiple targets together. You can climb a mountain. You can have a team goal together. That's really helpful. One of the ones that a lot of people really like is the lottery. People love this one because everyone feels like they have a chance to win. And there are a few different types of competitions like this where even your lower performers feel like they have something to work for because, hey, I might not be the top, but as long as I get enough tickets in, I still have a good shot at winning something. And then you can spin and look at all that. But yeah, you can just see off the bat, we have different categories, and you can choose based on what you want to accomplish, what type of competition you want to run. Okay. So yeah, and we do a lot. Like there's gift swaps and things like that. You can do like Pirates Booty or like Christmas or like a Halloween gift swap, things like that. You can do time-based ones. So kind of like capture the flag or like last person to close a sale. They'll have the clock running until the next person closes it. There's a lot of options here. Okay, now I want to get into what a lot of people love about Amplify, and that is to know if a competition worked or not. Now, this is a thing that a lot of times takes up a lot of time and resources from managers to even know, was that competition good or was it bad? We had Sam Taggart in our office, and he was telling us how frustrating it was when he was a manager to put a spiff on the line, something like a cruise, and then to find not only did it not move the needle like he wanted it to, but now he has to pay for a cruise. So he's actually worse off after the spiff in the competition than he was beforehand. So we help you avoid that exact scenario. And the way that we help you avoid that is we can, if we just choose a random competition that's already been completed, we give you key insights. So let me zoom into this. So right here, we can show you how this competition performed. So it will compare the period that you did your competition to the previous period for the same amount of time. So if you do a week-long competition, it will compare to the previous week. If it's a month-long competition, the same. But it will not only show you things like the power rankings for how people moved throughout the competition, but after the competition is said and done, I can see how much of my team improved by how much. So I see that my top performers improved by 26% in this competition. My middle performers improved by 18%. And then looks like this competition, I didn't have enough people that fit into the bottom performer category. So it's 0-0. But overall, my net effect was a 24% increase in production. This insight is huge. I've used it on my team, and I've actually used it to learn more about what kind of competitions are the best, but also how long my competition should be. If I see that I do the same competition and I do it over a month, but then I do another one over 3 days, and my 3-day competition feels more urgent, so that pushes the pace a little bit more. Now I know, oh, I need to do 3-day competitions, looks like. So I can do that. I can also, within here, you can do things like if I'm a user, I can have a person that I pit myself up against. So I can go head to head with one person and compare myself to them throughout the competition. But this has been huge. For the sake of time, let's move on to our next thing. Let me just go back to the percent. Great. Now let me go to achievements. Now, achievements is actually something that I didn't really think about too much. I've used achievements. I've won badges in, Audible, like, 500 hours of listening to Audible, things like that. We can do the exact same thing. But a lot of this is really insightful because you can keep track of, just like you could before, you can keep track of streaks. So how many months or days in a row people have won this badge. And you can have badges on a daily, weekly, monthly period, up to you. But here's the cool thing is you can have it anything, make it so it's anything from target attainment, so a badge based on target attainment, to a badge that keeps people going, like, hey, you just got 50% of your goal, don't quit now. You can have things like, hey, 3 deals closed in a day, 5 sets in a day, 50 knocks in a day, 100 knocks in a day, 500 knocks in a week, 1,000 knocks in a week, whatever you want. You can do it for breaking a record, things like that. And you can see the history. So you can see here, I clicked. So you can see like how many people have been winning this. So you can go to different periods and see when people won what badges. You can have this post in the feed as well. But I'd say probably my favorite thing about these is not only does it keep people motivated, but you can attach coins to these. And I'll go into our rewards shop, but you can attach coins to every time someone wins a badge or wins an achievement, they'll actually earn XP or coins. So it's all automated, it's all automatic. So they can always have something to shoot for every single day. And this has been huge for my team. In fact, when I first launched this on my team, we broke our all-time knocks record. We broke that, I think, 3 times in the first 2 weeks of incorporating badges. And one of those times, we even broke it twice in the same day. Where someone went home and another person wanted to stay later and try to beat that record, and they did. So I think we actually crushed the record by like 50%, in some cases 100, 200%, which is nuts. And I actually didn't know the record could be broken by that much. So I was actually creating badges while the records were being broken because I was like, oh, they maxed out what the limit was for winning that badge. So I kept having to up it. So that was pretty fun for us. If you guys have used anything like this, badges, please throw that in the chat. which ones have been helpful for you in the past, or which ones, or if you have any questions about if you're starting, or if you have any questions about that whole thing, put that in the chat. We'll have somebody answer that. Okay, and last thing about badges, I realized I did want to go over real quick is every time a badge triggers, you can actually have a YouTube video play. So it's kind of like your walkout music. So I can have a badge specifically for, a video specific to a badge, or I can have another type of animation, and I can choose whatever I want. So I love this one, Are You Not Entertained by Gladiator. That will trigger every single time, and everyone will see it on the feed or just as a push notification when you win the Gladiator badge. So fun stuff. Okay, let's move on to scorecards. Okay, scorecards is huge for my team. I love scorecards. Think of it as a report card. So you have your different classes, you have your different types of metrics, but how do I know if I'm performing well in each of those metric categories? So of course, everyone wants their deals closed, right? That's what we want at the end of the day. We want sales, but that doesn't happen by itself. So what you're doing is you're playing Moneyball, and what you're trying to do is you need a certain amount of knocks so that you get a certain amount of convos, so you get a certain amount of appointments set to a certain amount of appointments completed, and then finally deals closed. So you need to make sure that your pipeline is always full and always robust. And that way you don't have a great month, but then your next month is really bad. So what we can do is we can set different benchmarks, and you can have these on a team level. So each person on the team has the same benchmark, or you can customize it so every person on your team has a different benchmark. Totally up to you. And I can weight them. So then I can see, hey, it matters to me more if I close a deal than if I get knocks. So my deals closed target is going to be weighted a lot more than my knocks target. And then it runs by itself. And every single day, this little ticker moves a little more to the right. And all you need to do is you need to make sure that as a team or as an individual, I am ahead of that ticker instead of behind it. So let me give you an example. So if I go here, I can see who my top performers are and how they are pacing. And I can click into any one of these people, by the way. So looks like Stilgar is doing great in Knox Convo's appointment set. Maybe is falling a little short in appointments held, but it's picking it back up when they actually have that. So now I know, instead of trying to diagnose this data, when I want to coach somebody, I don't have to try to figure out why is this person not doing what they need to do. All I can do is say, oh, appointment set is what my next training should be with that person. And I can do this on a team level. I can do this on an individual level. This makes it so easy, saves me so much time as a manager. And it allows me to really zero in on what the bottleneck is, which is really, really important. And I can do that at the drop of a hat, really. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I can't stress enough how important scorecards are. They're really, really helpful. Okay, now let's move on to the reward store. As we saw in competitions, you can win coins. So let me just give you an example. So like for example, this competition, I have this many coins for first, second, and third place. This is super easy, by the way. Not only can I see, how everyone's pacing, but I can see how everyone is trending across the competition. But all I'm trying to say is you can win competitions. And when you win competitions, you can win coins with that. Well, what do you use those coins on? Same with achievements. I can win achievements and win coins when I win those. Well, what I'm going to use those coins for is the reward store. Now, this is helpful because we, as managers, like to think that if we were motivated by something when we were on the doors, of course, our team will be motivated by the same thing. Now, although that's really easy and convenient, that's just not how it works. And a lot of managers find that out the hard way. Well, we can save you the pain by just giving your team the options and letting them choose what they want to be motivated by. So your team can actually even request some suggestions and say, hey, I would really like to work towards this. And all you need to do is determine how many coins are worth how many of things in real dollars. And on my team, I usually do like 100-to-1 or 10-to-1 ratio. So if a TV is $500, I'll just make it worth 5,000 coins or 50,000 coins or something like that. Pretty easy. But then you let your team choose what they want to work towards. And you can favorite things. I can even see how close I am to uh, getting these coins, for example, if I go to my home screen, now since I gave myself, billions of coins. Looks like just 10 million coins. That's still a lot. I can afford everything right now, but it would show me where I'm pacing towards each of those. So it would say, hey, you're 30% towards getting AirPods, or 50% towards an MLB game, or 60% towards your Hawaiian vacation you're saving up for. This is huge. And you can also make this really easy for your team. You just accept the requests when people want to buy something. I'll say, hey, you want to play some golf? Great. Let me say yes to that. You can approve it, decline it, things like that. I would recommend not making it so everyone can approve, like all your managers, because if something happens and someone accidentally approves tons of things that they shouldn't have, then oops, like you just approved that for them. So you just want to make sure that my pro tip is just make sure that you only have a few people that are in charge of approving and declining uh, rewards and things like that people are buying. But if we go into any of these, I want to see the reward. I can buy the reward, and it's as easy as that, and then my manager approves it. I can also, you can see how easy it is to create a new one, but even if I want to go here, I'll just show you. We can do cool things like set a limit for a quantity or a certain time period for how often or how long this is available. I can also only allow certain teams to choose. I can also have things like if you buy a shirt or a hat, what size we're going to get for you, things like that. And if you have hundreds eventually, if you build it so you have hundreds, you can categorize alphabetically or based on, self-improvement, electronics. Makes it really easy to navigate through. You can also do things that don't cost you any money. That is fun. So things that you would have been spending money on now are free, but people are still spending their coins on that, which is nice. Okay, this is rewards. Throw in the chat any rewards that you found really helpful in the past that people have really loved. Also, any questions you have or any struggles that you've been dealing with as far as struggling to know how to motivate your reps through certain spiffs. And we'll help you out with that. Okay, let's move into battles. So all a battle is some people call them throwdowns, but it's a 1v1 competition. So not only that is the reps are the ones who choose who they want to battle. So if I'm a rep, I can say, hey, I bet I can beat so-and-so. And not only that, I can wager my coins and I can win his coins if I beat him. So you can either have it like, hey, first to 3 deals, or whoever gets the most deals by the end of the week, you could set them up like that. But if we go into one of these ones, you can just see how this works. So you can make it a public or a private battle. You can set the goal, how many coins you want to wager, and then the start and end date. And that's super easy. We also have a battle history. You can see our leaderboards, and you have a rating system. So if you beat somebody that has a higher rating, you'll get more points when you beat them. It's pretty fun. Cool. Very similar to competitions, but it's 1v1 and run by the reps or the manager if they want to. The manager can also pit 2 people against each other either way. Okay, reports. Reports is just where you can look at the data. So if I want to just go through here and look at activity that was logged, this is where I would do it. I can also do things like group by. One of our features is proximity indicator. So I want to see how many of these occurred, like how many knocks occurred while they were actually where they said they were. Make just quick eye check just to make sure they're not knocking or at least dropping pins while they're really, at a McDonald's dropping pins or in a park sitting down or something like that. Okay, coaching. Coaching is huge. Coaching is more for our big enterprise accounts, but if you have a lot of teams and a lot of managers that are managing those teams, sessions and programs is huge. So a session is just a one-on-one meeting. Think of it as like an individual coaching session. A program, all a program is, it's a recurring template. So if I create a new program, I can do a check-in template. I can use a pipeline review template. I can use a product presentation, whatever you want. There are different types of templates, and I can choose who my coaches are, who the people are that participate, and then I can have it just recurring. So every week, every month, whatever you want. I can also do one-offs in coaching. So I just want to jump into a quick session. I can have certain activities or questions that are required before the coaching session starts. So if nothing's filled out, then the manager won't be notified and then they can just skip it. And when all the questions are filled out, then the manager gets a notification that says, hey, this person is ready for their coaching session. So it makes it really helpful. You can also embed data like scorecards and targets into the coaching session. So it's all in one spot. And then you can complete, set the next one, or not set the next one. And do that. And then I can even rate how well that coaching session went for the future. Something nice is when I look at these programs, I can see my stats. So for example, I can see like how many of these coaching sessions are done. So if you want to make sure, hey, how do I actually know if my managers are doing what I'm paying them to do, which is train my team and meet with them on an individual basis, I can see here through this how often that's actually happening. So then I can also help hold my managers accountable. And maybe if someone's not doing that, you can help them and say, hey, like, let's get you, on your coaching sessions and then maybe that'll help your team improve. Okay. That is coaching in a nutshell. But I don't want to exhaust that. So we'll skip points. Let's move into some of these other fun features that are only available to admins. So I already mentioned coaches can pit people against each other. So that's the battles thing. Achievements. This is just where I can individually assign manual badges. So I do this for things like book club. I love book club. So that's something that is manually done. So I'll individually assign a badge to them whenever they read their book for the month. Or if they do fun things, I can do one-off spiffs, things like that. And I can also give coins and XP off on an individual basis as well, just so you know. All right, let's go through XP and levels. This is fun. We have a ranking system where every single time here, let me actually show you how we go across this. So for every like closed won deal, they'll get a certain amount of XP, and then it's exponential, or depending on how you look at it, reverse exponential, based on the activity. So you can weight each activity and assign a certain amount of XP to that activity. So calls or dials will get less than combos and demo scheduled, things like that. I can also attach XP to achievements. So my badges, every time someone wins a badge, they can get a certain amount of XP, which is awesome. And you can choose what type of model you want to run. So we do the Call of Duty one, private to general. Once you've reached general, you can prestige and then start at the bottom again, but then you have that little ticker. So you can also do like a Minecraft, like wood to diamond, or peasant to king, white belt to gold belt, intern to chairman. And then here you can see your rankings. So you can see like where everyone is. And then here you can see the prestige. So you prestige, and then you're a private, but now it has a little ticker. And you can see how far you get. I personally like to do a seasonal reset. So every year, if you're a seasonal business, you can say, hey, the game starts again at the beginning of every single knocking season. We'll see how far everybody gets. But then once the season's over, I reset it. And then that way, even the newcomers have a chance at being the top dog the next season. So that's the way that I like to do it. Okay. This is the last thing I'll show you. So screens. So this is helpful because you can see things on TVs. If you work in a big company and you have an office, you can see how your team is doing throughout the day, and you can have certain like little slides that show up throughout the day and are just constantly, you're rolling through those slides. And you can show really whatever you want. You can show, if you want, things from dashboards, you can show leaderboards, you can show the wall of fame, you can show how you're doing as a team, how everyone's doing compared to their targets. And I'll show you an example of this. But here, let me do something better actually. So right here, let's do, HQ screen. Let's do this. So I want to connect a screen, and let's do HQ. And, 'cause, 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 ' Let's see. There's a fun way where you can actually, here, let me do it this way. Let me disconnect it first. That's what was going on. So disconnect the screen. Now I connect it. Okay, watch this. So I can copy the same thing. If you don't, for example, have TVs that you want to have the same feature on, I can have my guys refer to it while they're out in the field. So you can copy and paste this URL into any browser on your smartphone, on your iPad, on your laptop, whatever you're using out in the field. And then they can have access to the exact same feed. So this will give you an idea of what this feels and looks like. So I can see, close won deals, how many people have that. If we have a current competition running, I can see that, which is pretty fun. And again, these will just be, oh, looks like we just got an achievement. So this will also pop up when people log achievements or they log activity. Here we see Luke Skywalker just, oh, and Andy leveled up, which is cool. So now he's a private level 106. Awesome. We can also see things like, here, I'm waiting for this notification to come through. Cool. Stilgar also registered a new thing, which is awesome. And here you can see how long, and you can actually choose how long each of these slides runs for, which is nice. Let me go through fast. Okay, you can have things like how many people won a certain amount of coins, what prizes people won, so you're always reminding them. You can have percent to goal, you can have overall the team's target, and we can do things like Wall of Fame. So Luke Skywalker has the most knocks on the week, but Stilgar has the most on the month, but on the year Luke has it. XP rankings, knocks versus today versus week versus month, leaderboards. You can see how the team's pacing for goal, things like that. So you guys get the general idea. There's a lot of these that you can run through, but each of these, your guys can have that available to them out in the field. Okay, in a nutshell, that is Amplify. Now just know I showed you the tip of the iceberg, so I quickly went through each of those. The crazy thing is we are coming out with new things all the time, and we're updating and iterating. So even if you use Amplify and you've been using it for, let's say 3 months, there's a good chance that there's already been something new that has been added or a feature that you haven't figured out yet how to use it, which is really cool. So the deeper you dive, the more you realize how robust this is and how well it works. This is gamification in a nutshell. A lot of people confuse gamification for spiff management. Gamification is not just competitions, and that's a huge misunderstanding. Competitions is one very small aspect of gamification. What gamification is it's a way for you to make the whole selling experience a game for your reps. It's something that pushes them and does things to really help them motivate themselves. You can't always control what they're going to be motivated by. In fact, you usually can't. But what you want to do is give them all of these different types of options so that they can choose what they want to be motivated by. For one person, it might be the feed. For one person, it might be dashboards, being on top of those leaderboards. For another person, it might be making sure they don't really care about interacting with people. They just want to make sure that their own scorecard, that they're pacing where they should be. Another person, they like battles and the prestige that comes with that. Other people just want, achievements and rewards and things like that. The beauty is Amplify allows you to give all of that to them so that they can choose. And this is where Amplify is head and shoulders above a lot of other gamification softwares. It's where they might have competitions or something like that. We allow you to choose and let your reps choose what they want to be motivated by. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any other pending questions on about Amplify, please post that in the chat, in the live chat. Hopefully you guys, I haven't really been monitoring it, so hopefully you guys have been helping each other on that, and then also hopefully our in-house person on the chat is answering questions about Amplify. And I hope this was helpful, and I hope that this is something that you'll be able to utilize. And if you're curious, we can have more webinars as well that you can join. So don't hesitate to reach out to your CSM, and don't hesitate to utilize us, because if you use Amplify, you guys can see the same types of results that we've seen on my team. So good luck. Thanks.